It's the Trinity MMO show.
It is time once again for the main story quest, where the Trinity Bros give you their MMO opinions.
All right, the main story quest today is we have a guest. We have Lurkor on the stream. Okay, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy XIV. So before he starts talking, a couple of updates, you might say, right? So for those who've been watching my stream long enough, they know that I have had this contention with Final Fantasy XIV. I've enjoyed it, but I've had issues. Okay, I have overcome some of my issues. Okay, music has really been a knockout, more so recently than the past. I've always argued the scales always get me when you log into the screen, okay? And the other thing was the fact that I finally decided to play through all the main storyline, instead of doing all side adventures, and it was amazing, okay? And it's an amazing game. And so I've enjoyed it, and I'm willing to go back in and deep dive it again when it comes out again next year. But there are things you need to do before the summer comes out. So in light of that, because I know Lurker might just bring those things up, I wanted to head him off before you actually said anything.
You wanted to head me off before I started started bad mouthing.
Which, but to be honest, one of the things that you've done well is you've described and pointed out to me, Kennethan, whatever you want to call me, sir, my lord, whatever you want to call me, you are wrong about Final Fantasy XIV, okay? And so So, anyways, again, for those who don't know, Lurker is my native-born son. Not like Solomon, who adopted me, okay? So I always said I have 4 kids.
We already discussed this. They're the same person.
And so, yeah. All right. So anyways, Lurker, you went to Las Vegas for Final Fantasy XIV Fan Fest. It's your first time going, right?
Correct. Yes. My first time going to a fan fest, though. I have been playing Final Fantasy XIV for 10 years now, because this is this is the 10-year Final Fantasy XIV.
That's right.
Well, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn.
Really, we're not the original release.
Yeah, technically the original release would be 13 years, but we don't talk about that.
I played the original one, if I recall. Not just 11, but 14 also a little bit, I think.
I did as well, yeah. 11 is still going, by the way. But yeah, I went to incredibly hot Las Vegas at the end of July, where it was 111 degrees, which was absolute misery. But that didn't stop me from having the time of my life at the Final Fantasy XIV Fan Fest, where the big news got dropped, which we expected. The general kind of flow for Fan Fests is they have 3 Fan Fests before a new expansion comes out. The first one, they drop a small sort of teaser trailer, and then some hints about, and then some information about the expansion. The second one, they drop even more. They usually reveal one of the jobs. And then sometimes they'll do a what is it? I think it's called a job action trailer, where they show like a bunch of actions and stuff. Then the third one, you get the full trailer and the actual release date, that sort of thing. So
Vegas was number 1, right?
Correct. Yeah. So Vegas is the first one. Oh, I hit my microphone. Sorry. Vegas is the first one. Then next one's going to be in London, and then the last one's going to be in Japan, of course. So, yes, Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail coming out next year, summer 2024. Yoshi P said, summer, yes. We are pushing for early summer, but for now, we'll just say summer. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see exactly when that comes out. For 7.0, they kind of, in the keynote, they went over quite a few things. All the usual fare of a new expansion. We're going from level 90 to 100. We're hitting triple digits. New dungeons, new raids, new ultimates. All of the various content that you expect with Final Fantasy XIV expansions, you're going to get as well. And then one of the big things is they are going to be doing a large graphical update for the entire game. So the base system specs are going up. So if you do play Final Fantasy XIV and you don't know about it, they have new PC specs to look into. So just be careful if you have one of the lower end PCs. And you still want to play Final Fantasy XIV, it's probably going to take up more space on your hard drive as well.
Yeah.
Basically, you're looking at new textures, new shadows, that sort of thing. Everyone's going to be a lot prettier, he said. So I'm personally really excited as someone that likes to take screenshots in the game. So
Ishtola, kept hearing people talking about, oh, they're gonna love Ishtola now, but even more so than.
So I don't need to use those shaders anymore, huh?
Oh, you can.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a download mods for that, isn't there?
Yeah, I've been using shaders for the last several years.
As a Final Fantasy 14 player, I do not use any sort of external.
How dare you?
Because that is against
No
2S,
makeup.
and I would never ever use any sort of.
Well, that kind of. Well, go ahead, proceed.
Yeah. So one thing with their new graphical update that they showed in the keynote is that they get to put a lot more foliage and stuff into environments and stuff like that. So, and especially it's going to be super cool because the new continent that we're going to do, the new world as they call it, is very heavily seems to be influenced by South American culture and stuff like that. So getting to go into like those jungles and stuff like that is going to be really cool with the higher amount of foliage and stuff that we get to see in Final Fantasy 14. So that's going to be fantastic.
So this is not a new engine, right?
No.
Like going from Unreal Engine 4 to 5, right? This is taking the same engine and just making it better, I guess, right? Adding more stuff to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're not switching to a new engine, though. I mean, obviously, I'm not privy to that kind of information. But I think it was kind of just like when they're developing the game, they have to work within a certain boundary because of the system specs that they have, the market that they're trying to hit.
Right.
And so now that they have increased it, they have the ability to put more things on screen to tax systems a little bit harder so that they can, bring that new level of graphics.
That's cool. Okay.
Another thing that they talked about was there's going to be 2 new classes added to the game. Though Yoshi P said that he could not tell us at the time because obviously, like I just said, they release them on different at different times for different fan fests. But he did tell us that the roles that they're going to be, they are both going to be DPS, and one is going to be melee, and one is going to be magical range DPS.
Interesting. Okay.
And for those of you who don't, and for those of you who don't know, Final Fantasy 14 at the Fan Fest, Yoshi P likes to tease his audience with a T-shirt, basically, and that T-shirt has some relevance to what the next class is going to be. They could be something as easy as I think he was wearing like a death metal band shirt when he was teasing Reaper was going to be a thing. And then. But it could also be even more obscure, like him wearing a Spider-Man shirt to tease Samurai. And you would ask, why is that a thing?
Samurai.
Like, yeah. Can you put that together? Well, what's the name of the director who did the first 3 Spider-Man movies?
Sam Raimi?
Yeah. That's the connection. So that one was pretty
Samurai,
obscure.
Sam Raimi. Oh my word. Okay. So what shirt did he wear at this time?
So So this past weekend he was wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles t-shirt. There's a lot of speculation of what's going on. So a lot of people are saying that the first class is going to be Corsair. Corsair is a Final Fantasy 11 class, and it is a one-hand sword and pistol class. Some people have gone to the teaser and seen the Warrior of Light in the teaser, and they said that there's like, if you pause it on a certain frame, you can see a holster in his on his person. So they're thinking that it's going to be Corsair. But there's a bunch of other stuff, like, so as far as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing goes, some people are thinking that it could be the magic DPS could be someone that's like a painter style, like calligraphy, sort of like painter or calligraphy style. This has been seen in previous Final Fantasy games. there's it escapes me, but there's one gal that had a paintbrush. But they're thinking that it could be that, and that would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're all artists, right? So their names.
In the trailer, they showed the island being populated by lizard-looking forms of people.
Correct, the Mamuja.
So, with these turtles that are humanoid turtles, is it possible you could be playing one of those characters of the class? I mean, I don't know.
They're new classes, not necessarily new races.
Sorry. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, I think that they mentioned that they're not going to add any new races for the foreseeable future, though some people are thinking that there are Hrothgar in the game currently, but they are only male. So some people think that they're going to put Hrothgar female into the game. Hrothgar are native to the New World as well, so wouldn't necessarily be like could definitely be there as well because we got the male Vieira, so that would be the next thing.
Yeah, now it makes you start thinking what it is, you know. I mean, because those guys are definitely trained in the karate, into martial arts. But you already said samurai already exists. That can be considered like a martial arts class, anyways.
Yeah, we have monk
Or monk too.
But yeah, Final Fantasy 14 has been fantastic. They announced that they're as far as like stuff that's happening before the expansion, Xbox is finally getting Final Fantasy 14, and so that's super cool to have, you know, a whole new group of people that can experience Final Fantasy 14. Obviously crossplay is going to be a thing, so you can play with, you know, anyone from PlayStation or PC. And also they announced a Fall Guys collaboration.
Yeah,
Fall Guys and Final Fantasy 14.
How do those go together?
They don't, but they do. I don't know. So there is a place in Final Fantasy 14 called the Gold Saucer. Also prevalent in, you know, other Final Fantasies, and it's sort of like a mini game sort of thing. So what? And currently there are these things called gates. They're like fates, but they're gates. And they're basically things that you can join up, and they're little events that you can do. Right now there is a couple other ones, but there's also a jumping puzzle sort of game. And so Fall Guys would definitely fit in with a sort of jumping puzzly sort of game that you could do. So I'm actually low-key looking forward to that because I think that'd be a lot of fun to, you know, get knocked around with your character and stuff as you run through a Fall Guys course and try and
you could do your Warrior of Light through that. That. Your Warrior of Light guy is the one going to that course. So
not only is there going to be there's in Fall Guys the game, you can actually get Final Fantasy 14 skins for your little bean. But then in Final Fantasy 14 as well, you're going to be able to go through a Fall Guys course with your Warrior of Light. And that's going to be really cool.
Wow.
But yeah, that's kind of the big stuff. They talked about some of the other stuff that's coming to Final Fantasy 14 in the live letter, basically talking about, you know, what's going to transition us over from our current story arc into looking into the new world. So definitely looking forward to that coming here soon. I think they said that there's probably going to be about 3 to 4 months, depending of like the final patch before we get to the next expansion.
Yeah, they were showing with all. I was watching day 2 a little bit. They were showing how 6.5, whatever it is, right? There were these different patches that were coming up, and they were tying around the different events of London and Tokyo, and then as they move toward 7.0 next summer.
Correct. Yeah. So definitely looking forward to that. It's gonna be great. Like I said, I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 for 10 years now. I'm looking forward to playing through another 10 maybe. So
what was the number one thing that was like the highlight of the whole thing?
Or all of FanFest or
FanFest,
So if you've never been to FanFest, basically your price of admission is worth, like, you get your money's worth from the 2 concerts that happen at the end of the night. So the first concert was a piano concert with they have a very talented pianist named Keiko, and then they had Amanda Aiken, who sings the Flow, which is like the kind of like the track from Endwalker, and so she was there performing some songs.
Oh, cool.
And then the next day they had the Primals concert, and if you guys don't know what the Primals is a band that has been formed by the composer, the lead of localization, and then 3 other band members that help help out with the making music for Final Fantasy 14. And so they created a band, and they just do like a rock concert at the end, and that was also amazing.
That's cool.
So definitely the concerts were the highlight for me. Just being there for so long, and having these emotions tied to these songs, and these songs are things that you love, from something that you love, really like resonated. So it was great. I was like, man, I should go to more rock concerts. I forgot how sick this is. Let's go.
All right, I'm going to clean up some mess here in Discord, looks like, or chat, okay? So, Yoshi P wore a t-shirt that had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're trying to figure out what will be the class or the job that's going to happen in the expansion. Not about the actual race. Sorry. Turtles is not going to be in the game, okay? This is going to be the class, and we're talking about the clue because they're all named after artists. And that's where SirJahzeal was like, yeah, in Final Fantasy previously there was an artist class, and that's what he's just trying to talk about. So you guys went, unfortunately, somewhere where the whole Turtles thing happened, and no. You went race, this is all about the job, right?
I like Turtles.
All right, so was there any one thing about the whole shebang that was like you were like sad about, that was like, oh, that just kind of made a mess with things? I don't know.
So this is more of a, like, anything that I talk about in Final Fantasy 14 is more of a nitpick than anything. So the one thing that I was a little bit disappointed about was from the teaser is that we are going to be seeing the Scions again. Don't get me wrong, I love the Scions. I think that they are fantastic characters in our party that we get to go on this adventure with. But I feel like this was the perfect time to
move on,
to put us out into the world, have us meet some new characters, and because the Scions, all of their storylines are pretty much done. Like, I mean, like, yes, people will still change, but like we've seen these characters grow to a satisfying arc, to a satisfying end. We've seen Thancred deal with everything that he's been through. We've seen even Urianger deal with like tie up the loose threads with him. So I was really hoping that we would just kind of be out on our own without any of the Scions, maybe 1 or 2, like that sort of thing. So I was just a little bit disappointed to see them again, personally. But I do think that they mentioned that you will be working with some of the Scions and against some of the Scions, so that could be like a really cool dynamic. Yeah, that could be a cool dynamic to go across. But yeah, that was my little nitpick, probably.
I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I guess why people like it because they're so used to the characters, but you're right. There's an opportunity to go someplace different. It's like, hey, you guys, I love you. Great. I'm going over here now. I'm taking a vacation, and all of a sudden it's a new world and I need new people. And maybe, they have to, wait a minute, I need to pull in a friend, my lifeline, and maybe someone I know, but you got to meet new people too. So,
yeah. So like I play through a series called the Trail series, or Kiseki series. It's a JRPG series, and like the character cameos of the people that you've met from a long past just feel so cool that I feel like they could have, maybe we don't need to see the Scions for a bit, but then we're in some dire straits at one point, and then Estinian comes in, and you're like, "Oh my god, it's Estinian!" Like that sort of thing. Right. They can really, you can really set yourself up for those moments if you make new characters. And I played through all of Final Fantasy 16, and though it does have its flaws, Final Fantasy 16 has some of the best characters and side characters that I've experienced in an JRPG or an RPG in general. So and it's the same team. It's still Creative Business Unit 3. So I trust these people to be able to make some really compelling, awesome characters that we get to learn. So that's why I was just a little bit disappointed to see the
No, it's a fair statement. That's really well reasoned. Yeah. I have not played Final Fantasy 16 yet. I'm still waiting for my PS5. So once that happens, I'll play it. But
that's fair.
Well, thank you. So, is there anything more you want to add to this whole thing?
Play Final Fantasy 14. Do it.
Which I will be doing again. So, yeah, I'm not sure when, but yeah, definitely next year.
I think that I do love like when people play Final Fantasy 14, but I think that Final Fantasy 14 is one of those games where you need to be ready for it. And I think that a lot of people, when they go into Final Fantasy 14, don't have the right mindset necessarily, because they go into it thinking it's an MMO. And it is an MMO, but like some people have said, like, WoW is an MMORPG, but then Final Fantasy 14 is an RPG MMO sort of thing. It's very much more about the story and the experience than it is about... I mean, because there is endgame, there is raiding, there is that, but that is second to the RPG.
So. That's what I said. I thought that, it's an RPG MMO. That's probably the reason why I kept my biggest frustration. I kept thinking like it's an MMORPG, and I kept getting stuck with the fact that it's not. And that's why when I finally went turned over and realized, stop it, Ken. Just enjoy the story. I was listening to the Massively OP podcast, and they were talking about that, and they're talking about because they're talking about the Fan Fest too. Is that how many people you're like, okay, they're telling you, do you have a half an hour because you're going to go through all of these cutscenes? And some people are like, well, man, I don't want to do that. I'll keep playing. So there's the RPG version of it. I don't mind the cutscene because I don't have to die. I don't have to fight anybody. It's like, oh, I'm going to live this time.
I really hope that I can go to the next Fan Fest. There was a lottery system this time, so I got really lucky. But Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest was such a cool experience because, yes, like I've been to PAX, obviously, and it is really cool to be in a place where everyone's a gamer, right? But Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest is different in the sense that everyone is there for one game. Even if you go to BlizzCon, if you're standing next to someone in line, you don't necessarily know if it's going to be a WoW player or a Diablo player. And they don't necessarily overlap, right? In Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest, I was standing in line. I could turn to the person next to me and be like, hey, what class do you think is going to be in the game next? Or, hey, what role do you play? What race are you? That sort of thing. And it was so cool to be able to have so many people there celebrating one thing. And I can only hope that I get to go again in the future.
All right, cool. That's a very good statement. I have not been to a convention. Well, no, I did go almost 20 years ago to a Las Vegas for a Dark Age of Camelot convention. And it was all about one thing. But yeah, all the other conventions I've been to have been multi-thing. And BlizzCon's a good example. I've not been there, but it's going to be more than one game. Like Path of Exile had their Exile Con. It was about Path of Exile.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's cool. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Really good. Good
you ever need someone to sing the praises of Final Fantasy 14, you know where to find me.
That's why I called you.